we're coming on live from the people's house, and we're just waiting for our Facebook friends to come on board, and we'll start the show. So
YouTube's always the first.
See, you are first.
well, Facebook's always first, but YouTube is the one that we always come on line first. They know what I'm talking
They're on a
about.
little earlier because.
World Wide Web.
Oops.
Oh, my sign
Can
fell.
you get that? Sarah will get that for you.
World Wide Web of YouTube.
Is that showing?
Is that in the
It's
shot,
kind of
sir?
small. The biggest I could make it. No big deal if it doesn't.
We could always just at some point you could, hold it here.
Yeah, you might have to just hold it
I have
up at some point. You might have to.
Yeah, when we talk to you.
because I have that stand over there too. We can do
No, that's okay. What I meant by show is it too small?
Oh, the printing?
No, it's good.
It's all right.
Okay, so I can hold that up and I can.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm ready to.
All right. So,
I'll follow your cue on this, by the way.
okay, you bet. Ready? Okay. It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show. Welcome, Facebook. I'm Alice Lara, one of your hosts with.
Don Jorge Alacran.
We're here every week, every Thursday here at AZGOP. We have a new time. We're starting at 5 p.m. Got a great guest we'll introduce to you in just a few moments, Jose Borajero. So don't go anywhere. I want to also give a shout out to our camera gal, technical guru now. She's turned into one. Super Sarah. Yes,
Super
Sarah, thank
Sarah.
you very much. And also, remotely, but always helping us
Behind the scenes.
is Secret Sonia.
Secret Sonia.
Thank you, Secret Sonia. Who else do we need to thank?
That's it for now.
Our logo creator, Monica Lara,
Monica Lara.
my great niece. And you know what? We need to bring the music in for our Thursday edition. Tuesday we have our music, but Thursday, maybe I can find it during the course of the
But
show.
don't look at me, I don't know how
You
to
don't
play
have it?
anything.
Okay.
Bring
You're
in
not
the
gonna sing,
nice-
Francis? But my nephew David Beasley wrote our theme music for the Chips and Salsa Show. And if you listen to our Tuesday edition, we have that. This is more of a podcast. We don't really have commercial breaks. You get the full hour with us. But on Tuesday, we do have on Central City Radio, the Talk Central Phoenix portion. We do have commercial breaks, and he plays the song and some good rejoiners and some fun stuff like
And we
that.
have our beautiful friend, Teresa Mendoza, always there on hand. Say a few words, a lot of words.
She jumps, yeah, a lot of words. She jumps in the molcajeta with us.
Yep.
You know, we're always happy to have her. She's great. She's with the RNHA, that's Republican National Hispanics Assembly. And so we're always happy to have her with us as well. And our good friend Julian Allison, that's who we started with. We're going on 6 years now for the Chips and Salsa Show. And Julian has brought things back. So in fact, if you are interested, if you want to do something like this, feel free to contact him. Just go to the Facebook site. It's Central City Radio or Talk Central Phoenix. So we exist, this is the first time you've tuned in to watch us, the Chips and Salsa Show. We are here because we just want to bust the myth. Just because you're brown doesn't mean you're a Democrat. A lot of us are conservatives. A lot of us are Republicans. The R word, Republicans. Right, George?
That's right.
All right, good deal. Okay, before we give, we're going to have, the whole show really is going to be Jose centered. He's going to tell us how to be more effective at your state level politics. So let's go ahead and get some announcements out of the way, maybe. Take care of that. We want to remind you that actually this Saturday is our Maricopa County Committee, Republican Committee county meeting. So if you're a precinct committeeman in Maricopa County, you should go if you can go. And we're going to be voting on resolutions and electing some people to leadership. So I really recommend that you go. If you need any information, just go to the Maricopa County Republican Committee website. We'll be there. I'll be there. You'll be there.
I'll be there.
Now you have to work, or you can go.
I might be there.
You might still be there.
I'm making-
Oh,
I'm
my
making-
goodness.
Choices.
Oh, making choices. Okay, good deal. But if you go, please look for us. I'm going to try to do a live stream from there. Are you going to have a booth there, or be
No.
among the crowd? Okay,
Well,
I'll
I'll be
come
on
find
the
you.
front, yeah.
I'll come find you. Also on January 18th, this is really big, the Arizona for Life March and Rally. It's going to be between 10:30 and 3 p.m. Saturday, January 18th. That's next weekend. And Abby Johnson is going to be there. The Abby Johnson. She's a pro-life advocate and from the Unplanned movie. And again, if you have not seen Unplanned, please, please see that movie. Please. Whatever side you are of the pro-life issue. Have you seen it? I'm sure you've seen it.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, it's very, very powerful. And there's going to be other speakers also. So you can gather, if you want to participate, go to First Avenue in Washington. That's next to the Cesar Chavez Memorial Plaza at 10:30 a.m. They're going to have food trucks and other activities. The march is going to start at 11:30 a.m. along Washington Street to Wesley Bowen Plaza. I should also tell you this. There's also this is a rose that, you know what? I'm going to save this because we're going to have this guest on next week. About $10 roses. Linda Brickman, Maricopa County First Vice Chair, is calling for volunteer Republican PC poll workers and poll observers, volunteers to work at the election polls in each precinct in March. And that's the Democrat preferential presidential election. And in August is our primary, and November is the general. So positions include 1 inspector, 1 marshal, 1 judge, 3 clerks, and 5 poll observers. And we can talk more about that and how important that is. And George has been real good about promoting that as well. I also saw this. Okay, you know, what we do a lot as precinct committeemen, we collect petition signatures. Here's a real easy way you can do this also. You can sign candidate petitions online. You go to the Arizona Secretary of State's website and you click Sign a Candidate Nominating Petition button. And you put your first and last name in, your date of birth, and submit it. And then they confirm that your address is the right one. Then there's a list of candidates that appears. You click on any name so you can sign that candidate's petition. Some elections allow you to sign more than 1 candidate's petition. I've never used this system. Have you guys used it?
I have.
Yeah. Is it?
You just have to identify yourself. You have to give them some information. Usually the voter registration card has that information, or else you have to give them like a driver's license number.
Is it pretty smooth? Works pretty
Oh
good?
yeah. You just have to identify yourself because, you know, they don't want a whole bunch of people doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
So we'll sign in.
Now some people don't like that. I'm not going to give them any
Yeah.
information. So,
Yeah, I can see that.
but no, it's harmless. I don't think they use it for anything else.
But it's another way to do it. So you can take care of that way. Just another way to do it. Let's see if I have any other announcements. Oh, I do want to remind you, College Republicans United. We've had them on the show before. They have secured Michelle Malkin.
I'm going.
Yeah. Did you get your ticket already?
Oh yes.
All right. Yeah. We need to get our tickets, George. And
Michelle
that's going to be February 26th at 6:30 p.m. And that's going to be at 400 East Lemon Street in Tempe. You can go to their Facebook site. It's College Republicans United, and you can get the ticket. Just write down the information. February 26th. So we might be able to have them on before then. They can talk a little bit more about that. Yeah, that'd be great. Maybe they can get us Michelle Malkin. Wouldn't that be cool? Okay, George, any birthdays today? Anything going on?
No.
It's your birthday. No? Any other announcements before we get started? Did this? Do you want to announce that?
Well, yeah, the Jenna Jackson campaign program shows still set for February the 1st, 2020, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. Right now, it's supposed to be slated for the Sheraton Phoenix Crescent, but we're going to get concrete details on that by next week, and we'll let you know. So we're working on getting hold of Jana and making sure that's a Jana Jackson. She's running for. What is she running for?
She's running for Arizona State House
Legislative
Representative, Legislative 28.
28, yes.
Okay.
And she's a very good candidate, and we're really encouraging just the stuff that we're seeing from that campaign.
Yeah, and even if you don't live, another great candidate is my good friend Tatiana Peña, and that's in
Yeah.
Legislative District 27. And even if you don't live in that particular district, maybe you know somebody that does. You know, give them a shout out. You just never know. They might live there and they might be able to help. They could still help them. They could give them a few bucks. That's always an option too.
You can walk and get distribute the literature. You can make phone calls. There's a lot of things, you can do to help the candidate, even if you're not in the district.
Right.
And if you are in a district where there's not going to be a whole contest, okay, and you have nothing to do because, well, this would be a good opportunity for you to get involved.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like, we always talk about it, and not everybody wants to run for office. I understand that. But if you haven't run for office or don't have that desire, help on a campaign. You will have such an experience and get the inside angle on what happens, even on the smallest of campaigns, like a school board or something like that. There's so much work that's involved and things that you will learn. So I always encourage everyone to do that, even if it's just at a very small level. Maybe you can donate an hour a week or something like that. You will not be disappointed because you will meet people and you learn so much. All right?
Correct. We've all done that.
We've all done that, yeah. That's why we're blabbermouths about it.
And Jose, his message is very important. And Jose, he's been with the Republican Party for many, many years. He's been a state representative for over 10
State
years.
committeeman.
State committeeman. Now he's
Yes.
now he's a PC committeeman, right? PC committeeman, and his main thing that he's doing is just what he's going to be talking about, and it's very interesting because of the bills coming up and a lot of things going on in the state capitol, and he's the man that's going to show you the links that you could do to push a bill through, to favor a bill, and to show your interest in what's going on in the state capitol.
Right, so we can't emphasize enough. You want to stay tuned. All right, so we're gonna go on to Sarah. I don't think we have anything else to announce.
Yeah, we can.
Sarah, you got any announcements? Anything going on at Grand Canyon College? Second semester,
Second semester. First week's almost over. That's about it.
and she made it,
Yes.
and she's back with us for this semester. Yay! Thank you very much. So our good friend Jose Borrero, gosh, we've known you now for what, 10 years, George?
Yeah,
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 10
and
years.
he's with you're normally at the what's that?
Ron's.
Robert's.
Yeah, well, I am not. I'm not very much. So what happens? I'm so busy doing what I'm doing. I don't have a whole lot of time for these, Tea Party meetings. And
Yeah, it's
that
a
sort
Tea
of thing.
Party type thing.
Yeah.
The hub radio that he's doing. Is that what you're
Yeah.
talking about?
Well, actually, I was there a couple of weeks ago, promoting my. I am going to have a show of my own coming up,
Oh,
and
great.
it will be with that, and it will be lasting only through the legislative session. And the name of the show is going to be AZ, for Arizona, Bill Watch 2020. AZ Bill Watch 2020. And it's going to be one of the outlets that I have in order to provide this information to people. So I would
Let me
have.
try to introduce Jose to you,
Okay.
guys, because we just keep rambling here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So it's Arizona Bill Watch. Okay. So Jose, as I started to tell you, we've known him for about 10 years. He's been very, very active in Republican politics. He has a great story. Today he's going to tell you how to be more effective at the Arizona state level. But what I want you first to learn is a little bit about him and his bio, because he's got a fantastic story. He's actually a naturalized citizen from Cuba. And I've talked about this before, and I'm going to tell you once again, and then we're gonna let you tell your little bio. But go to YouTube, and there's a fantastic interview by Brad Zinn, and he interviews Jose, and it'll tug at your heartstrings and just make you proud you're an American. It really will. So why don't you give the audience? I'm sorry, I was going to say to give. The
Yeah, let
audience
me
a
just,
few minutes.
Jose, years ago, we were on, with Alra, and he was one of the hosts on Alra. We had the regular host, and he was a guest host, and he got pretty good with the radio. So
He's got this great deep voice.
So I know when he first came on board, he was kind of timid, but boy,
It took three. I think it took 3 shows before I opened up my mouth,
and
and
then
then you could.
then you couldn't keep quiet. So Jose comes way back to radio and all kinds of involvement in the Republican Party. You actually went to the McCain convention, right?
No, it was the 2012. I was a delegate,
Yeah.
and so
So you
The
went to that
national
convention. You
the
went to that
national
convention.
convention, the one that took place in Tampa.
Tampa. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
It was quite an experience.
Yeah, I would recommend that to anybody. The Republican convention it should be on everybody's to-do list.
So a lot of political
Yeah.
experience here. So yeah, so I'd love for you to give your little ice story because it's a good one.
Which
How
one?
you ended up coming to the United States, if, from Cuba.
Well, yeah, I came to the U.S. in 1961. I was 15, almost 16 years old, and it was
By yourself? Did you come by yourself?
I came with my younger brother. It was a program initiated by a faith-based organization. And what they did is they found foster homes for these children. I guess I was a child at 15. I didn't think I was, but I guess I was. Placed us in foster homes in the U.S. Proved that you were not going to be a burden to society, that you were not going to be dependent on the government. You had to have a sponsor of some sort. And us being underage, and naturally we had to have foster homes. And that's how I ended up in the U.S. And then as soon as I became eligible to be a U.S. citizen, I became a U.S. citizen.
Wow.
And I've been voting Republican ever since. Well, no, I voted Democrat twice, once for Babbitt and once for DeConcini. But I have spent the rest of my life atoning for those mistakes.
Have you always been a Republican?
Well, yes, I registered. First, I registered. The first vote that I cast was for Nixon in 1972.
Wow.
That was the first one. And of course, Nixon turned out to be not the greatest, but it was McGovern. It was either McGovern or Nixon, so it wasn't a choice.
Yeah,
So,
I hear you on that one. Yeah, so I just like that story, but really that interview, because he talks about the BB gun gets me when I watch that.
Yeah.
The BB gun. So I'm gonna save that, okay? So when you watch YouTube, just look up Brad's in, and we'll save what I have. I'll spell the name for you, Borragero. We'll put that on Facebook. So you can do that. So give us a little background on why did you become so active in politics?
well, this is what happened. I retired, and a few years back, I found myself with a lot of time on my hands, so I tried to take up golf, and I was terrible at it, so that didn't work. Then I tried chasing women, and that was even
Were
worse.
you married? No. And that was even worse.
And that was even worse. So I ended up, my calling happened to be politics, at least from the outside, and that's what I ended up doing. No, really, what really triggered my interest in this was that I watched how labor unions were reacting to events and how they were contacting legislators. And I saw that, and they had the opposite view of mine. And I said to myself, well, wait a second. There should be a way. Isn't there some organization or some people that are doing something about this, countering this, responding to this? And the answer was none at the time. So I decided that to do something about it myself. I started out with 4 people uh, in my team, and I now have I don't know how many hundreds uh,
Wow.
that participate. And basically, what we do is very simple. We Well, number one, if you want to be part of the system, if you want to be active in this sort of thing, you need 3 things. Number one, you need to be informed. You have to know what's going on, okay? And that's part of what we do. We let people know what bills are coming up in the legislature so that you're informed. Number 2 that you need to do is uh, react to that. Try to make a difference. You do that by contacting legislators, and there's various ways in which we do that, and I will be getting into more details to how to do it because I think that's an important part of it. And the third thing that you need to do is to know how these individuals voted, because when it comes time for election, if they're elected officials, sometimes, and I know this doesn't happen very often, but sometimes the rhetoric does not quite match the record. Okay?
No, you're kidding me.
I know
Really?
I know it's rare, but so here you have an individual that says, "Okay, vote for me. I'm a staunch conservative Republican," and now you're in a position where you look at this record and you say, "Well, Mr. Conservative Republican, how come you voted against this particular bill?" So now you're an informed individual. You can inform other people, and then you kind of know whether to vote or not to vote for this individual, whether to support him or not. And it works the other way around too. That individual may had an excellent record that you totally agree with, and naturally you're going to support him. So it works both ways. So that's the reason. That's why I have become involved in this because nobody was doing this at the level that I am doing it. There are a lot of organizations out there that will do the same thing. They will tell you what's going on. They'll tell you how to vote, and sometimes they'll even tell you how the vote went. But every one of them is a single issue organization. Okay, you have an organization that specializes in Second Amendment issues. You have one that specializes on financial issues. You have one that specializes on family issues, abortion, that type of thing. But there's no one that is doing this at the level that I do it, whereby I don't pay attention to any one individual issue. Education is another one. The way I do it is that whatever is hot, in other words, whatever they're discussing at the legislature is what I get involved in. And I do not get involved in all of the bills. Uh, Most people are not aware of the fact that any one session, there are about between 1,200 and 1,400 bills introduced. Now,
Oh, yeah.
there's no way that we can react to even half of those. So we have to pick and choose which ones to react to. And the ones that we do are the ones that are really hot, the ones that are going to make a big, big difference. And so, and I have a staff that does that for me or helps me doing that.
That's awesome. And you don't get paid for this,
No, no. The
which
only,
is incredible, because it's a lot of
Unfortunately.
work. When he's gonna tell you more about this, you're going, wow, it's a lot that you do and a lot of information that you provide. And I wanna tell you too, because we have a deal that comes out in the email, Republican briefs. So from time to time, Jose will weigh in and he'll say, hey, look out for these bills. He's really good, he's got a really good eye for picking out very pertinent bills because, like he said, there's 1,200 bills. Not every single bill is gonna go to its full fruition and get heard, da, 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 da. He does a lot of that for you. He saves you a lot of time and information. And he knows how to do it. He knows how to navigate. A lot of people don't because that's not what we do. We're not comfortable with it.
well, if you pay attention to what I do, you also will know how to
You
navigate.
can learn. He's a good teacher.
And he goes to a lot of LDs, he goes to a lot of state meetings, instructing people of what he knows, enlightening them on how to be involved. And that's what,
Yeah, I have a PowerPoint presentation that I do regarding
and it's
this.
very good. too.
Yeah, in fact, if you want him to come to your organization to do that, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
To send me an email to
I bet I know that email now.
host, okay, JOSEB like in boy, and I have a couple on. I think I gave you the Gmail, right?
Yeah, the Jose 4538.
Yeah. JOSEB 4538 at gmail.com.
And you know how I remember it now? Because he told me what the 4538 was about.
Yeah, well, it's two calibers.
Yeah.
This is 45, so
Oh.
it's 38.
Oh, I get it now. So now I know your email. I love that.
Yeah.
So, do you want to hit the request? How do you want to do this?
Well, let me give you a little bit of there's three ways that we contact legislators nowadays, okay? And regular mail is out of the question. By the time the mail gets there, everything's done. So we have phone calls, we have emails, and we have something that most people are not aware of, and I want to spend more time on it because of that. And that is what we refer to as request to speak. The telephone calls, the only thing I can say about that, most people know how to dial the phone, right? So I don't have to say
I
much
hope
about that.
so.
But the only thing that I suggest that people do is that they concentrate on the issue as opposed to the personality of the legislator. You may consider this legislator to be a putrid piece of rotten meat,
Wow.
but you don't have to tell him that. As a matter of fact, if he is, he probably already knows it. So
Or he's been called that before.
yeah,
He or
so that's not going to get you anywhere. What I suggest that people do is that the first words that come out of your mouth is what you call for. I am in favor of Bill X. I am against Bill Y. And then from then on, then you can go ahead and explain why you're in favor or opposed. Some people use the strategy of going to making the phone calls over after hours, That way they just go to the recording, they don't have to deal with the administrative assistant,
Mhm.
and they can make a lot more calls that way. So that's what I have to say about the phone calls.
Can I interject something just real quick right here? And I think it was, he's a councilman now, Jim Waring, but I always remember he came to our women's club or something, or it was another organization maybe, and he said, you know, because people will think, I'm not gonna contact my legislator or whatever. He said, but when you hear from somebody personally like that, they really do take that into consideration, because if you took the time to actually email, make a phone call, or do the request to speak, obviously they get those. You're, you know, really, you're the boss. We're the bosses. So this is really important stuff. And they do, he says, we do pay attention to those.
Mhm.
We really do. Anyway, so I'm interject that.
So phone calls. The next thing is your email. And again, there is a right way and a wrong way to contact legislators by email. One of the problems that we have is that in order to contact these legislators, you have to, if you go through the regular procedure, in other words, if you go to the website of the legislature and you want to send an email message to two or three or four or five or 10, 15 legislators, you have to fill out the form that many times. You go in there and, okay, yeah, I want to email Mr. So-and-so. You fill out the form, okay, fine, now you do it again and again and again.
Each time they make you do that.
Right, if you go through their website. So what happened is
They don't
that,
want to make it easy.
no, they don't make it easy for you. So what I have done is that I have created a system whereby you can save a lot of time and effort. And if you go to my website, which happens to be AZ, look, can kind of put this.
Yes, you could. Here, I'll hold it for you while you
Okay.
talk about it.
azpeopleslobbyist.com. If you go to that website, there is a place there where you can click on the button, and what it will do is it will automatically place all the email addresses of the legislators that you want uh, onto your email system. So what happens is with one click, you can go ahead and contact all the Republicans, all the Democrats, all the senators, all the representatives, whichever way you want to do that. So that saves you an awful lot of time and effort. Okay. Now, and it's really simple to do. All you have to do, like as I said, is just go to that website and do that. Also, while I'm talking about the website, there is a wealth of information. A lot of the things that I'm going to be discussing with you this evening can be found in articles that I have written that are placed in that website. So you will also see on the right-hand side of the main page a list of articles that you can read, and they deal with some of the subjects that I'm going to be covering tonight. How to contact legislators, how to read a bill, how to find out where to go with a legislative bill, a lot of different things. So anyway, so now you have a means of contacting all legislators with one email, and makes life a lot easier for you. Now, one word of warning over here, because you may be thinking, well, that's nothing new. I get information all the time that all I have to do is sign up here, and they'll send an email to all the legislators. True, but what happens is what they do is they send a boilerplate type message. And so it's not just you, it's a bunch of other people are sending this. And what happens is that these administrative assistants, most of the time the legislator doesn't get to see your email anyway. It's the assistant that gets to see it.
They screen all of it.
Yeah, and they are very good at spotting this. They know by the time they get 3 or 4 of these, they know that it's just, that you did not write anything. That this is just, you just push the button.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, if you're just counting how many people do this is one thing. But if you want to be substantive, they're not going to pay any attention to you because they know that you did not create this. The way that I do it, or the way that my people do it, is you actually create your own email. And again, I suggest that people, when they create their email, number one, when on the subject line, state what they want to say. I am in favor or vote yes on such and such bill, or vote no on such and such bill. And then in the body of the email, you can explain why you're in favor or opposed to the bill. If they don't get to the body of the email, at least you've given your opinion. But since it is yours, since you wrote it, since you're an individual, you're not a machine, you have a better chance of having the email read.
And Jose, do you think it should be, I'm always alerted to the fact that people have so much ADD world out there. Would you recommend that they make it maybe just a paragraph or two and not go into a big, long email?
Well,
What do you think?
well, again, you go from small to big, okay? The very smallest one is just yes on bill such and such, you do that in the subject line. Then, when you get into the body, then say something, again, very short, okay? Make sure, the shorter it is, the more likely it is that they read it. And then you may have a couple of spaces and then go into more detail in case you have information that the legislator or the assistant may want to look at. You may have some points there that they may have overlooked.
Mhm.
Okay, so, but keep in mind that the longer it is, the less likely it is that they will read it. So make it concise, very short at first, then expand it a little bit, and then expand it a lot. That way, it depends on how far they get down the list. And again, the key thing here is that it is your email, you wrote it, it's your own words, and the next guy that sends something to them is going to have different words. It's not going to be one of these boilerplate messages that they get 200 of them and they're identical. Okay? So they pay more attention to that. So that is the email. Again, you can do this for all legislators, for all Republicans, for all. You can do that. You can choose which ones you want to send this to. Again, using that website.
It's a really good tool to do that.
It's an
because
excellent tool.
So it's not
excellent
so
tool.
labor intensive.
Okay. The third way that we contact legislators, and I bet that most of the people watching this podcast are not aware of this, is what we refer to as the RTS, Request to Speak system. And this, I have to give you a little background as to how we got there. For the longest time, as far as I heard, because I wasn't around when the state that became state. People have been able to address their legislators. When a bill is introduced, the first thing that happens is that it goes to a committee, okay? And the committee it could be education, it could be almost any. There's about 15 different committees, and it goes to that committee, and then it's debated in the committee, and the committee votes on it. If it's approved by that committee, then it moves on to further and eventually gets down to the floor of the body, whether it's the House or the Senate. So the first hurdle that the bill has to clear is that committee.
Make it through committee.
Right. So, and that is the only point at which an individual, a citizen, is able to provide input that will become part of the record for that bill. You can always make a phone call, you can always send a letter, you can always send an email, but those are on the side. The only time that you actually do something that's part of the record, the official record, is when you testify at a committee hearing. So for the longest time, the way you testify at a committee hearing is that you stood outside, there was a little slip of paper, and you fill out the slip of paper and handed it to a page, and they would take it to the committee chairman and say, well, this individual wants to speak. He's requesting to speak,
Okay.
request to speak. And that's the way it worked. Then as computers became more and more prevalent, we did the same thing, except that now the way we did it is that you stand outside the committee room and do this on a computer. You do exactly the same thing, but on the computer. And again, you want to speak regarding this particular bill, and if there's time and so on, you don't always get to speak. Then you can go inside and say, okay, this is the reason why I support this bill, or the reason why I oppose it.
So there's like a little kiosk
Yeah.
outside of there. And then
And
you
instead
say,
of filling out the slip, you
I'm
do
Jose.
it on the keyboard.
Okay.
So that's the point that we're at. Now, This also later evolved into a system where you can, once you have registered, you can do this from the convenience of your home. Okay, so here's what happens. You go there to the, it's either the Senate or the House. They have these kiosks, they have these terminals at both. They have about 3 or 4 in the Senate and 3 or 4 in the House. And they also have them in the Tucson office. But the only way that you can register is going to one of these kiosks. Okay, you cannot do it online, you cannot do it remotely, you cannot do anything. So you go there and you register yourself in the request to speak system, and now you're in the system. All you need to give them is your name, email address, and a password. So now you go home, and along comes Jose with an alert that bill such and such is going to be heard in such and such a committee. It could be an appropriations committee or whatever. So now you say, okay, there is a bill going to be heard at the appropriations committee. So I am in favor of that bill. I am going to register an opinion. So you go online. You don't have to go to the
Because you're already in the system.
You're already in the system. Remember, you have signed up, signed in. You're in the system. So now you log in, and there's a screen that you fill out, and you give them your opinion, yes or no, on that particular bill. And then you get to say a few words. It's only 250 characters. It's not a whole lot. But you get to say why you're in favor or opposed to the bill. And again, this becomes part of the record. When the legislators are there debating the bill, they can look on the screen and see what you wrote, see your opinion and all the people's opinions and what they wrote, yes or no.
Does that appear in real time? So in other words, I'm
Oh,
at
yes.
home and I do that,
Yes,
they
yes.
immediately get it.
Generally, what we do with such as that you do it ahead of time. Okay,
Right.
but let's say, for example, that you are. Oh, this is another thing that you can do. Maybe you folks know how to do it, maybe not. But they have live coverage, on Capitol TV.
You can watch the hearings.
So you can watch the hearing there, and you watch the hearing, and something comes up, and you say, "Oh, I want to comment on that." Well, you get on your computer and send an email, send a message.
Did you know you could be so interactive? I bet a lot of people didn't know that.
That's why I'm
And that's
doing
why
what I
it's
do. So now one word of caution regarding this. Remember, I said that this becomes part of the permanent record regarding that bill. So keep in mind that whatever you write there, whatever you say, will be or can be used against
Your
you.
name is attached to it.
Yeah.
You're not anonymous.
Yeah, no, it can be used against you in a court of public opinion. So, and it's there forever. Like all computer things are there. When they dig up our bones, 10,000 years from now, they can say, "Well, Jose was in favor of this bill, or Jose was against that bill."
Jose, can somebody use a fake name? Can somebody, say Jack Spratt and put it in an email?
Yeah, but keep in mind that it's only gone by email, and there is. In fact, I tried to address that issue, and nobody listens to me anyway.
I'm listening to you right now, right, George? We're listening.
All right.
Sarah too.
All you need is an email address, a name, and a password, right?
An
Okay.
address.
Now, once you log in, you can do two things. You can identify yourself as a registered voter. Okay. And when you do that, then the legislator that looks at your comments knows that you are a registered voter because you did that. And you do that by giving them your voter ID number. That's it on your registration card. But if you don't have that, most people don't keep those cards anyway.
Right.
You give them the number of your driver's license.
Oh, okay, so you do give that information.
So you do have to identify yourself, okay? And then when somebody looks at your comment or your opinion, they know that you're not somebody from Massachusetts trying to game the system. You are somebody who's actually a registered voter in Arizona. You also have the option of identifying yourself as a lobbyist, but that's a
That's all
different
deal.
thing. So yeah, you can do that, but some people don't like the idea of identifying. I don't want to give up my driver's license number. Fine, but they actually pay more attention to people who have identified themselves as registered voters.
Sure,
Because,
because that's,
yeah.
they care about that.
Yeah.
You're voting.
So anyway, that's the request to speak, how we do that. And, and again, if you go to my website, there is, all of these things that I'm saying here, you may not remember, but if you go there, there is an article, how to use the request to speak system. And it tells you step by step what you do.
Oh, good, so even if, you can go back and watch this show again if you need the information, but you can always contact Jose too, and he can answer your questions. And he's very good at explaining everything. Now, you might be watching and say, what are you doing? George and I keep playing with the sign because we're looking, we've got a monitor here so we can see if it appears or not. But I also want to say, Sarah, if you have a question for Jose, Sarah is a brand new voter. She's a
Oh.
brand new voter. So if you have a question for him or anything, feel free to jump in and ask. Yeah, see there, okay. We almost got it, so I'm holding up, we have information here. Great.
One of the things that I would like to address here before we get into the specifics of the session, because this is going to be a very important session this year. But one of the things that I wanted to mention, because one of the objections that I get from people when I tell them about contacting legislators and so on, they say, what's the point? They don't listen to me. And actually, they're right. They don't listen to me.
Sometimes you don't.
Okay, and so why bother, right? Well, if you go on the premise that you're going to change people's minds, if you go in there with the idea that legislator A is going to change his ways because you said so, or because you asked him to, or because you gave him an opinion on a bill, you're in for a big disappointment, because you're not gonna change their minds, not very likely. So why bother? Well, the reason you do this is not so much to convince somebody who's against you, but you do it in order to show support for somebody who's with you. Okay, so here you have an individual who's very much on your side, and he gets 200, 300 of these either emails or request to speak opinions or what have you. Now he has that ammunition in order to make his point against the other legislators that might be against him.
Sorry, we're having fun over
Hey,
here.
folks, this is live TV, okay?
Live, yeah.
And I always say, whenever you're doing live TV, especially if you have either animals or children, but also,
Yeah.
I'm seeing that also happens with a sign.
Yep.
Anyway, the reason why you do this, or the reason why you should do this, is because you want to have the back of the legislators that are with you. And the more support that you give them, the more likely they are to fight for you as opposed to giving up.
And I think too, this is a good way to kind of establish a relationship, because most people don't have a relationship with your local legislators. And this is just kind of another way to get in there, and they get to know you and you get to know them. And we should. I mean, it's too bad we don't, but we have such a busy world. And it's not like, a long, long time ago where our population was very small. We have a large population now.
Yeah, we still are at the point where I can pick up the phone and call my legislator, and he or she will listen to me. Well, take my call. I don't know, listen, but take my call. I cannot do that with my federal legislator. Okay, I cannot call my senator, my federal senator or representative. There's no way he will not take my call. So that's why I say, this is the highest level of government at which we still have a little bit of control as citizens. So, and that's the reason I concentrate on the state government as opposed to the federal government.
It's very impressive, because a lot of people don't even know about the request to speak. And you're doing such a good service, because everyone should. I wish that and maybe there is something out there, but a new voter like Sarah, a lot of people don't know about this. It'd be nice to have like a little orientation, and then you could go and you could learn about this and you could learn about that and get a little manual. Everything's available online. It is, but doesn't mean you're necessarily going to go look for it. So that's why you need to watch shows like ours, because we give great information and we have wonderful guests like Jose that are redoing that. They're providing an introduction and they're showing you how to do it. So you don't have to go in there and try to figure it out. He's going to help you and guide you and explain to you the importance and how to do it and how to do it effectively.
Yeah, right. So, are we ready to talk about the upcoming session?
I think we are. We've got to the last quarter of our show to do that. But before we do that, I just wanted to ask you real quick, and I know this is a little tiny departure, but I don't want to forget to ask you about it. So the president, I believe, we're switching to federal for just a minute. He was getting a lot of criticism because if I got this wrong, tell me. He wants to say that if you are an immigrant and you're ending up being a charge on the system, maybe you're on food stamps or different things, it's not supposed to be how it is. And he wants to kind of have that as a penalty, which it used to be a long time ago. Now the left is criticizing him for it. Have you heard about this? Are you up on this?
I'm not up on it on the
You know what I'm
latest,
talking
on the
about.
latest, but it's been going on forever.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you, being that you are a naturalized citizen, do you
Well,
have
yeah,
an opinion
see,
about that?
when I went through the system, it was a little bit different. For one thing, I had to have a sponsor. I couldn't just walk in, okay? I had to have a means of support. Every January, I had to fill out what was called an alien registration card. And I had to put my name, my residence, my means of support, and all of this. And I did this at
Wow.
you have to do this at the post office, okay? You go to the
Even at your age, you were just a teenager. You still had to do that. Wow.
Right. Everybody who was an alien, and again, alien. These days, when you use the term alien, alien,
Oh my gosh, don't
right?
say it.
Alien, that means that you're not local. I mean, that means you're
Foreign.
from someplace else.
Foreign.
And so anyway, so I was an alien, and I had to fill out my alien registration form. Um, Now, I did not have to do it when I was in the military, okay? And as it
And thank you for your service.
Yeah, you're welcome. And by the time I left the military, I had already become a U.S. citizen. So I didn't have to do that anymore. And I don't know what the status is. Apparently, you don't have to do that anymore. They don't keep track of the aliens anymore.
Yeah, they don't even keep track of the illegal aliens, so yeah.
So,
I guess not.
Anyway, that's what it is.
I wanted to ask you about it because
Yeah. So the upcoming legislative session, which is going to be officially opening on Monday, right? And the first day there's a lot of fanfare, all kinds of. I don't think they have a parade, but they might as well have one.
governor's going to speak.
Yeah, the governor's going to give the state of the state address and his legislative agenda, what he wants to accomplish. So we will know by then what he wants to do. But we already have a pretty good idea as to what is going to be happening by the legislative bills that have been introduced. And the audience may be saying, wait a second, what do you mean bills introduced? We haven't even opened the session yet. Well, in Arizona, I don't know how it is in other states, but in Arizona, you have something that's called pre-file. You pre-file a bill, and starting November 15th, a legislator can introduce a bill, even though the session doesn't open until the first week or second week in January.
2 months in advance.
Yeah, so you can do that. And when you look at these bills, these are the bills that are most important to these legislators. Otherwise, they would not be submitting them so early in the season. So by looking at that, you get an idea as to what's going to be happening. Another thing that's going to be happening is that typically in Arizona, we have considered the budget as the last thing that the legislature does. Okay, and it opens the door to a lot of shenanigans. For example, last session, the 2019 session, at the end of the session when we were doing the budget, there were two individuals, two senators, who had a bill that they wanted to pass. And what they did is they got together and they said, unless you pass my bill, I am not going to vote for the budget. Now we have a situation where we have a lot of Democrats and they don't vote for the budget anyway because they want to be contrarian. So these two individuals held and I'm not going to mention the names because we're at the GOP headquarters and they are Republicans.
Okay.
So I'm going to withhold their names. But if you go to my website, you know who they are. Okay.
Talking mechanics here.
Yeah. So
We should just mention too, we barely have a majority.
Well, here's the problem. In the House has 60 members, okay? 29 of those members are Democrats, 31 are Republicans. In order to pass a bill, you have to have a majority of the body, not a majority of the people voting. So it takes 31 votes to pass a bill. Okay? So if you have one Republican legislator that does not like the bill, they don't even have to vote against it. All they have to do is not vote.
Oh, yeah.
And now you have 30 versus 29, but you still don't pass the bill because it requires 31 votes. In the Senate, it's not quite as bad, but it's very close because again, there you have two. Instead of one, you have, if two senators decide that they're going to do this, then the bill doesn't pass either. There we have a 70, in the Senate, we have 30, there's 30 senators, there's 60 representatives, 30 senators. We have 30 districts, one senator per district, two representatives per district. So we have 30 senators. In there, we have 17 Republicans and 13 Democrats.
Can you say the word, can you?
What?
You said you can't even say the word, can you? I just was teasing.
No, I
I'm
just
just
didn't want to
teasing.
mention any legislator by name. If I was going to say something well-deserved, derogatory, but I won't do that here. I do it every place
Sure.
else. You know, you
Sure.
go to you go to my Facebook page and you'll see that I don't withhold anything. No. Anyway,
That's fine.
we have that situation, and so what's the strategy? What are they going to? What do we expect to see in the coming days from the legislature? Now, one thing that's going to happen is they're going to do the budget early in the session, so that we don't have that situation that we had last year.
Mhm.
So the legislators are going to submit a budget around mid-January, pretty soon, and they expect to get done with it by mid-February,
Wow.
as opposed to waiting until the end of the session back in April or May. And the reason for that is so that they can get that contentious thing out of the way, and they don't have the situation where somebody decides that they don't like something or they want to have something and hold the system or the project hostage to their demands, which is a very low blow. But okay, anyway.
It happens.
Yeah. So that's one of the main things that's going to be different from before. The other thing that's going to happen is that we have a pretty good surplus of funds for two reasons. Number one is that we do have a good economy, and you can thank Trump for that.
Very strong economy.
So we are getting revenue that we were not expecting to get. That's number one. Number two is that last year, 2019, which it was the 2018 tax year. Okay, you know, in 2019 we paid the 2018 tax. In 2017 is when Trump passed his tax relief bill, and that created a situation where most of us would be paying less in federal tax. Okay, all the rates were reduced, and they tinker with it here and there, but the end result is that most people who pay tax paid fewer taxes, less money in taxes than they did the year before. Now, when that happens, states like Arizona that have the tax situation tied to the federal, when that happens, it shows that you have more money, you make more money because you paid less taxes in federal. So now you show more money at when you do your state tax. Okay? And of course, since you make more money on paper, you're going to pay more tax. So the way you avoid that is by having a reconciliation, as they call it. You adapt your tax code to the federal code so that you do not have a windfall profit there. Well, that didn't happen that year. So people did not see the reduction in their paycheck withholding that they would have otherwise, because what was taken from what was given by Trump was taken by Ducey. See? And so we ended up with a tax increase in 2019, which was the taxable year for 2018. So that's another contributor to the fact that we have a surplus. Now we have a lot of money. But instead of saying, okay, we have a lot of money here, why don't we give something back to the people who earned it? Legislators are stepping all over themselves to see who can spend the most. Okay, they have all these projects here. Well, let's spend on this, let's spend on that. Most people don't know that we don't own the capital. I mean, it's all mortgage.
That's
Like,
right.
okay.
They forget
Yeah,
about that.
so how about paying off the capital or part of
You
it?
haven't heard about that.
You know, no, we have to spend the money. So that's gonna be one thing. And then the other things that are gonna be
Are
happening,
there any bills to say that, or people talking about paying, getting down?
none that I have seen so
I
far.
haven't seen either.
We've looked at now about 220 bills since November. And that's why I've been kind of busy. 200 plus bills that have already been introduced. It's a good thing that I have people helping me. Okay.
Yeah,
But
that's great.
because
I'm glad,
there's no way I
because
can.
I never knew how you could do it on your own, so good for you.
Yeah, well, actually, I have
You
to.
used to.
Yeah. So what it means is I can do more now. We're going to be against the clock here in a couple of
I've got
minutes.
about 5 minutes, so.
Yeah. So there's a few things that you can expect. There's about 30 or 25 bills regarding education of one sort or another. So education is going to be again a big deal. Okay. We have election integrity. We have some bills in that area, and that's going to be a big deal as well. We have, let's see, I don't want to, yeah, go ahead.
Well, he's talking about, looking that up. Vera Anderson was at our Republican Women's Meeting last night, and we're gonna book her as a guest, and she'll talk more about election integrity, so thank you for bringing that up.
Right, election integrity is going to be a big deal. We do not have a very, especially in Maricopa County, because we have an individual that is using his office to promote his political agenda. And so we have a problem there. So let's see, Representative Fillmore of LD, I believe is 12, no, not 12, 13. Anyway, he has quite a few bills, most of which deal with education. Senator Ugenti Rita, has a couple of bills dealing with election integrity. Representative Blackman from District 6, which is up in Flagstaff, he has been an advocate for prison and law enforcement reform, and he has a couple of bills dealing with that. So we can expect to hear about education, prison reform, law enforcement. Senator Mesnard is planning on introducing a property tax valuation scheme whereby he will be reducing the valuation formula so that we get some relief in the form of property tax. I haven't seen the bill yet, but it's coming. So taxes are a big deal. Education is going to be a big deal. Prison and law enforcement reform is going to be a big deal. And what am I missing?
Law enforcement.
Yeah, law enforcement. And the budget, of course, because we're going to have a contentious budget. Again, because we have such a thin majority on one party.
Yeah.
Okay, it becomes very difficult to get anything advanced.
It's gonna be knocked down and drag out.
Yeah.
Okay, we just have a couple of minutes, so I'm gonna give Jose's information out again. We have it up here on the easel. You can also contact him, email him. That's Jose, Jose, 4538 @gmail.com. So thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Hang on just another couple of minutes because we're gonna do the cocotazos and the whole enchiladas really quick.
Oh, geez,
Yeah, really.
sorry about that.
That's okay, no problem. We can go a little bit over because we're a podcast, so that's nice. But thank you so much. That was a great job. We'll have you maybe come back again during the legislature, give us a little report, keep
As
us
to
up
what
to date.
happened.
Yeah,
I'm
And-
telling you what's likely to happen now.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what happened.
and look for his new show again. What is it called again?
AZ for Arizona, AZ, Bill Watch 2020.
And then how do they find that?
Well, we're just setting it up now.
You'll let us know.
Okay, but it will be on Facebook and YouTube.
Okay, great. I recommend that you watch that. Cocotazos. What's a cocotazo?
Cocotazo is when you say something dumb and they hit you in the back of your head, and they were pretty good at it. That's what we did, and the Mexicans they throw the chancla, they call it the chanclazo, and the grandma would pretty good at aiming those
Slipper,
chanclas.
flip flop, your shoe. Did you have one in Cuba?
Oh yeah.
What's the version? Do they have a name for it?
I don't remember the name.
But you know, the cultures they have. So every week we're gonna bring them back, and so we find things that are cocotazos, we'll tell you what they are, we vote on them. Today, we're just gonna go ahead and tell you them real quick, and then we have the whole enchiladas, that's a good stuff that happens. We nominated for cocotazos, we always nominate George's girlfriend Nancy Pelosi, the speaker. Because she, you know, our President Trump, who we think is a whole enchilada, he did a great thing this week, but she can only criticize. So we nominate her for a cocotazo. And also, is it your girlfriend, Congresswoman Ilhan Omar,
I have better things than that.
I know.
who now said that she's got post-traumatic stress syndrome.
She's making kind of making it a joke about it, but it's and then she kind of got serious afterwards when she was criticized for it. She said that she had been through war in her when she was raised, and she's trying to blame PTSD. That's a very serious illness, and our soldiers have come back with that, and it's been documented. And there's even kids go through that when they go through a separation of families. PTSD. It's a very serious illness, and it shouldn't be joked about like she was trying to do, because in the background she was laughing, and it's just
Well, yeah,
she's a bad person.
I can't remember the congresswoman that was giving a speech. It was something very serious. In the background, you see her and she's joking and laughing. It may have been about something else, but it wasn't very good for her. She's, as you know, she's not one of our favorite people.
I think I would nominate always Nancy Pelosi's in first place, but Ilhan Omar, she's a very second place on that. Cocotazos, they deserve cocotazos.
Yeah, I think they both. Did you? Any cocotazos I'm missing, guys?
No.
No? Okay. And then I thought the whole enchilada had to be POTUS.
Yep, he made a direct hit over there.
And if you haven't seen the speech he gave yesterday, we put it up. I think I even put it twice up on our Facebook site. I thought it rocked.
And he took a reflection by Iran back in. They kind of know that Iran sent those missiles to empty spaces out there. They were sending a message to us, but they didn't kill American soldiers. Had they killed any soldiers or contractors, you would have seen a different result from our president. He said, they blinked. So let's hope that it continues that way, because there's a lot of soldiers and male and female now standing in the front lines for us. My son being one of them. We all have family members in the armed services, and they're always in harm's way. They're protecting us. Jose would know that. He served in the Navy, and he did his duty protecting us when he was serving. And so let's pray for the soldiers. Let's pray for their safety. It's still very volatile, and we're just continue praying for our country, praying for our president and what he's doing. I think we're in the right path, but we just got to be careful, because there's some crazies out there, just like we have crazy Democrats, but there's some crazy Iranians out there.
Any comments, Hussein?
He said it all.
And he's going to be coming up with on his site. So let's remember his site. Go onto his site. He's going to be coming up on bills that are very important to everybody, and he spoke about some of them today. And there's some of these bills are very, very important. And Jose is going to walk you through it if you just get on your computer and follow
and you're on Facebook too, right?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook.
So you can contact him on
Essentially, what I do is when I send at the beginning of the week, I know what bills are going to be considered during the following week, and not all of them, but most of them. And so I tell people, here's bill number such and such, this is what it covers, and it's going to be heard in committee such and such, on such and such date and such time, and in this room.
Okay, let me tell you why this is such good information, okay, because I work for a lobbyist, and lobbyists, because they have big clients, they've got to keep track of these bills and do all that stuff. It's a lot of work. It's work you got to do. There's systems that they buy and things that they do. So this is a great shortcut. I'm sorry that we only have like 1 more minute.
I just want to make sure that you remember Jose is going to be on Hub Radio, his own program, regarding what we're talking about today, informing people, and it's gonna be through the whole session. So tune in to that, Hub Radio, and he'll have his own segment.
Arizona Bill Watch, it's his own show.
Arizona Bill Watch. So this all kind of get together, and this is a shameless plug for Hub
And
Radio.
Send me information, we'll plug you each week too.
Yes.
All right,
We all
I
work
want to
together.
thank you Chipsters for tuning in. Thank you so much. We have another show coming up on Tuesday. Thank you, Sarah, for the camera work and everything you do. We really
People's
appreciate
House.
it.
Thank our chairman Kelly Ward for allowing us to broadcast here.
Right, thank you for coming on board
You're
today. And anybody else?
Hopefully, Jose will come back on the show and update us on some of these
Right,
bills.
yeah.
They're very important. So
Right. Okay, have a great rest of the week, and we're signing off. Guac on.
thank you.
Ready?
Oh, well,
Okay.
I thought.
It's time for the Chips and Salsa Show. Welcome, Facebook. I'm Alice Sonata, one of your hosts with.
Oh, his place.
We're here every week, every
Well, this one we
Thursday.
So how soon before this,
Bye.
watch?
It'll be immediately on Facebook.